Please take your seats. Early in the Obama administration, I had the pleasure of working with then Second Lady Dr. Biden, and I can attest firsthand to her sincere passion about our service members and their families. From Wounded Warrior events, Gold Star family recognition, and the Joining Forces initiative, she has been a devoted advocate to those who serve and have served. It is now my sincere honor to now welcome First Lady Dr. Jill Biden. Ma'am, it's a pleasure to see you again, and the stage is yours.
Thank you, Colonel Ross. And Clint, it's so wonderful to see you again. You know, when our paths last crossed, as Clint said, you were serving in the White House military office, and the Obama-Biden administration was just getting started. And you were an invaluable resource to my team as we worked to serve the military community through our Joining Forces initiative. And, you know, I remember how sweet Claire was when you brought her to take your daughter to work day. So I'm truly grateful for everything that you did to support us back then, and for you and your family's continued service today. So good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be back in Norfolk here at Langley Eustis with those who have given so much for our country, our airmen and our soldiers and those who love them. The families of our service members and veterans, the caregivers who lift up our wounded, our ill and our injured, the survivors who grieve those we've lost. You may not wear a uniform, but military families are as critical to our national defense as a rudder is to a ship. You support your service member no matter where they are. You sacrifice your safety with every move in PCS, with every new school or job. You serve alongside your loved ones. We have an all-volunteer force, and it continues only because generations of Americans see the honor, dignity, and patriotism of military service. How can we hope to keep our military strong if our service members are forced to choose between their love of country and their love of family? That's why supporting your physical, social, and emotional health is a national security imperative. Your Commander-in-Chief and I understand that. This is personal to us. And as we begin Memorial Day weekend with a community who feels its gravity deeply, our hearts are with all the survivors, remembering and celebrating someone they love. We owe them a debt we can never repay, and we must do everything we can to help them carry the weight of their grief and always, always honor their service. 10 years ago, First Lady Michelle Obama and I created Joining Forces, and this work continues to be one of my top priorities today. We are going to make sure that our military and veteran families, caregivers, and survivors have what you need to survive. Our military is a community bound together by love. Love for our country, love for the men and women who serve beside you or the service members in your life, and love for the communities that you all have built together. It's time that our nation matches that devotion. May God bless you all, our troops and their families. And now, I'm excited to welcome our next speaker, Brittany Bean. In addition to being a mom of 3, a veteran herself, and a fellow teacher, Brittany has navigated much of this pandemic while her husband, Major Nathaniel Bean, is deployed to Afghanistan. With Brittany's service, this is their family's 7th combined deployment. Brittany, like so many moms, I know that you are the rock of your family. And that's especially true when you're parenting with a deployed partner. I want to thank you and your children, Jordan, Nathan, and Margaret Catherine, for your strength, resilience, and everything you do every day to keep us safe. Brittany?
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am Brittany Bean, and these are my well-behaved, yay, and adorable children, Margaret Catherine, Nathan, and Jordan. My husband, Major Bean, is overseas in Afghanistan. He has been gone for 6 months, and he will return in about 6 more months, about in time for Christmas. On this Memorial Day, we are asked to honor, remember, and mourn those airmen, servicemen, and women who have paid the ultimate sacrifice in the performance of their duties home and abroad. As a veteran myself and spouse to a service member currently serving overseas, I am all too aware of the cost these young men and women are asked to bear, as is President Biden, who has suffered a loss of his own. Some of you listening to my voice right now have also suffered a loss. I'd like to extend my external and internal gratitude, however willing to protect the American dream, to keep our nation a beacon of democracy and hope to others. It comes with a great sense of honor and pride. Though I've taken off the uniform and have transitioned to being a military spouse, I am still afforded an opportunity to serve others as an educator at Poquoson Elementary School. Go Bulls! Thanks to programs like the CARES Act. However, as most educators know, not all lessons are retained to the confines of the classroom. Our 3 children have benefited immensely from the range of interpersonal relationships they have formed over the years as military children. All children have lived abroad in the Middle East, traveled all across Europe and the United States. They have had the opportunity to meet families from walks of life and many socio-political backgrounds. The military is a global community, a unified community, and one that I am proud to have served and continue to serve. With that, I would like to welcome President Biden to Joint Base Langley Eustis and the Hampton Roads region. But first, when you were elected, my husband said I got to shake the hand of the president. You gave his commissioning speech at the 2009 Air Force Academy graduation. And I said, I actually get to shake the president's hand. I win, don't you agree? Thank you.
How'd you guys get comfortable? Colonel Ross, Clint, it's wonderful to see you again. Thank you. When our paths last crossed, as Jill said, you were serving in the White House. And I never thought we'd be standing here today doing what we're doing today. And Chief Master Sergeant Peterson, thank you, and to all members of your team who helped put this visit together today. It means a lot to Jill and me. When I was Vice President and as Chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, we tried to visit almost every major military base in the country and as Vice President around the world. And you are, simply stated, you are the backbone of the country. You're the backbone of the country. And although our son Bo was the Attorney General of the state of Delaware and had spent 9 months in Kosovo trying to, as Assistant U.S. Attorney, trying to set up their criminal justice system. And I might say I can do this with the military. I'm going to brag about him a little bit. He's the only foreigner to have a war memorial erected to him in Kosovo, just below Fort Bondsteel, and the highway, the first highway they built, named after him, the Joseph R. Bo Biden Memorial Highway, and he was proud as hell of his work. But then he decided that he had contracted exposure to a virus when he was in Kosovo and in Turkey as a civilian, and he came back with a problem. But he kept going to Walter Reed. I couldn't understand why. They finally found, it's called ankylosing spondylitis. They finally found a cure, prevented him from having what they call bamboo spine. But he kept going back. I couldn't understand why. I thought I knew why. But Gov, he went back because he was trying to get an exemption to be able to join the United States Army. He was a sitting attorney general, and as all my colleagues, the governor and Bobby Scott and Congresswoman, they all know, is that when you do that, he joined the National Guard. And his unit deployed, and he wanted to deploy to Iraq with them. So he literally had to give up his seat temporarily. He could not have any business done, as you National Guard folks know. You can't do any business with a state if, in fact, you're now federal property. And so he gave up the seat and had the courage to appoint the fellow who had been the Republican Attorney General as Attorney General while he went. The proudest thing he ever did. Proudest thing he ever did. And he spent a year in Iraq, and it was one of the great honors of his life to do it. Won the Bronze Star, the Conspicuous Service Medal, and other awards, like many of you have. But he never, ever talked about it. I remember we had an event at the White House. I shouldn't be talking so much about my son, but I'm not going to apologize for it. We had an event for Iraqi veterans at the White House. And the president, without telling me or Jill, invited Bo to be there with another 75 soldiers and sailors and airmen. But he wouldn't wear any of his decorations. And General Odierno called him, he served under him, and said, put them on now. Swear to God. Walking out of the VP residence, he wouldn't put them on until then. That's the first time I ever saw the Bronze Star on him. What I'm telling you that is like a lot of you. You do your duty. You don't expect anything for it except get a little respect. It deserves so much more. It deserves so much more. And, I'm honored to be joined today by Governor Northam and by two great representatives of the Commonwealth, Congressman Laurie and Congressman Scott. And I want to thank you for all that you do to represent these service veterans, because they're devoted to you. Their family members, the caregivers, survivors, will call Virginia home. I'm especially honored to share the stage with Brittany and Jordan and Nathan and Margaret Catherine. I love those barrettes in her hair, man. I tell you what. And look at her. She looks like she's 19 years old, sitting there with her, like a little lady with her legs crossed. Brittany, you're doing triple duty as a veteran, a military spouse, and a teacher. And kids, thank you for being there for your mom. I can remember all those times, and all of you remember the spouses when your husband or wife are deployed. Every morning you wake up, you say that little extra prayer while you're drinking your coffee. You just spend a little more time wondering. And, you make up 1% of the population. You're defending 99% of the rest of us. And we owe you. But you do your job so gracefully, you hardly ever say anything about what you're doing. But it matters. It matters to your families for that time we're sitting across from an empty chair at the kitchen table on the dining room table, for those birthdays or Christmases or holidays where they're gone. You know, there's a famous English poet who said, they also serve who only stand and wait. Also serve, only stand and wait. I know Major Bean, having been deployed to Afghanistan during the pandemic, has only made everything much harder during the pandemic. I want to thank you so much, your entire family's service to our country. You're all incredible. You so underestimate how important you are. There's nothing that Jill and I enjoy more than spending time with our troops here and abroad. You're stationed here in the United States or deployed around the world. I've been in and out of Iraq and Afghanistan over 25 times. And I wish everyone could see what you do when you're there. I wish they could see every day how you saddle up, how you jump in that cockpit. Just see, no, you're just doing your job. Not to mention all the troops I've had a chance to visit in the Middle East and Europe and the Indo-Pacific region. We've traveled all over. Jill's traveled all over with me on her own visits to service members in Iraq. I think she's the only second lady ever to go in the middle of a war zone because she wanted to be there and see it. I always want you to know, always, that the issues you and your family are facing, we need to know how we can support you better. I mean it sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, support you better. There's a reason for that. As I said, we Bidens are proud to have family in the military. And our son Bo's service was among the achievements, as I said, he was most proud of. My heart swelled to see him in uniform. When I went into Iraq, I was there 5 times when he was in Baghdad. And I remember the first time I saw him, his name was Hunter. I said, what in the hell happened? He said, Dad, I don't want anybody to give me any special favors because my vice president's my dad. He got permission to put a different name tag on. I also remember what it was like to listen to him talk about the needs that people had when he got back home. About all the folks he served with who came back with post-traumatic stress. And he was back being Attorney General and having to deal with it. But here's the point. You do so much and you ask for so little. You know, our experience is a fraction of what so many of you and your families have gone through. A family like Brittany and her kids. You're an absolute best America has to offer. Our heart, our honor, your solid steel spine. So my message to all of you is quite simple. Thank you. Thank you. Not thank you for your service, just thank you for who you are. Because it's contagious. Thank you for choosing a selfless service to your country. I know we have mostly soldiers and airmen in attendance today, but there can be a lot of friendly rivalries on the base. Each branch has its own proud, cherished traditions and culture. I know how proud Langley is of the premier 5th-generation F-22 Raptor wing. Oh, God, I'd love to go up in one of those. I asked, I'm your commander-in-chief. Why the hell can't I command you? Let me go up with you. But, they won't let me do that. But Fort Eustis hosts one of Army's busiest airfields, which is led by the Air Force, primarily used by the Navy. It's all about as joint as it can possibly get. Every day, the more than 20,000 members of the Air Force and Army, along with civilian personnel, come to work with a shared mission. No matter which branch of our armed forces you proudly represent, you're part of the greatest fighting force in the history of the world. That's not hyperbole. The greatest fighting force in the history of the world. You're integral to the most powerful nation in the world. There's been no Army, Navy, Air Force ever like you, or Marines. Here at Joint Base Langley Eustis, you enable the success of our mission around the world. You provide intelligence support and air power. You ensure our soldiers and airmen are ready, trained to deploy at COCOMs around the world, including this year, adhering to COVID-19 safety protocols and quarantines before troops ship out in order to minimize the spread of the virus. Know that many of you deployed yourselves, probably more than once. Over the past 20 years, our volunteer force and our military families have made incredible sacrifices for this country. Early in my term as Vice President, I traveled overseas. I'd sometimes meet servicemen and women who were deployed their fourth, fifth, sixth times. Remember going into Baghdad, and those of you who had to fly in, you'd do those circular deals so we wouldn't get shot at and we wouldn't get hit. I walked up in the cockpit of a Silver Bullet that they had me in, and I said, how many, there were 5 people in the cockpit at the time, the load master as well. I said, how many is this your first tour? Nobody raised their hand. How many the second tour? Nobody raised their hand. Third tour, 2 raised their hand. Fourth tour, 2 raised their hand. Fifth tour, 1 raised their hand. No other war have you gone in, served, and got back up again and go back again and again and again. Once, wiping the blood off a seat of an up-armor Humvee is enough to get you focused. Then to saddle up next time and go back and back again. You're incredible. You're incredible. The country, they owe you, and this time they're more appreciative. In my generation, you didn't come home and get off an airplane in a uniform in an airport coming back from Vietnam. People treat you with respect, but they have no idea the sacrifices you make in theater. As we get close to bringing down the longest war drawdown in American history, our troop presence in Afghanistan, I want to recognize the significance of what all of you, the United States Armed Forces, have accomplished in the past 20 years. We went to Afghanistan with a clear purpose: to get the people who attacked us on 9/11 and to prevent al-Qaeda from using Afghanistan as a base from which to attack America in the future. We achieved that purpose. You achieved that purpose. Year after year, deployment after deployment, American troops pursued the terrorist threat through some of the most unforgiving terrain on the planet. I have now had the pleasure, as they say, of being in every part of Afghanistan, from the Fobs up in the Konar Valley, down south, looking at all those poppy fields and all in between. It's one godforsaken landscape, but you all just showed up and did your job. And helped make sure there hasn't been another attack from the homeland, from Afghanistan, for the last 20 years. And you never gave up until we delivered justice to Osama bin Laden. I got criticized after 9/11 for saying we'll follow the son of a bitch's gun to the gates of hell till we get him. It's exactly what you did. It's exactly what you did. You got him. And now as we draw down, we're also going to focus on the urgent work of rebuilding over-the-horizon capabilities that will allow us to take out al-Qaeda if they return to Afghanistan, but to focus on the threat that is metastasized. The greatest threat and likelihood of attack from al-Qaeda or ISIS is not going to be from Afghanistan. It's going to be from 5 other regions of the world that have significantly more presence of both al-Qaeda and organizational structures, including ISIS. We're going to update our security stance and turn our forces to the threats that will dominate our future to ensure the security of the American people for decades to come. But we'll never, ever, ever forget the terrible cost that we've paid as a nation. Many of you likely have lost friends and colleagues in Afghanistan and Iraq. I know this is personal to you. especially as you head into Memorial Day weekend. We as a nation will always remember and pay tribute to those we lost. After I announced my decision to end the war in Afghanistan, the first thing I did was visit Section 60 of Arlington National Cemetery. Just walk through those headstones. Seen all those stones. Our son did not die in Iraq, but he came back as an incredibly healthy young man, and came back with a severe brain tumor because his hooch was just downwind from those burn pits. I don't know if that's the reason, but he came home. It was just a matter of how long he lived. I still carry with me every single solitary day. I have my staff since the war began. I have my schedule. In the back of my schedule, it says U.S. Daily Troop Update. U.S. troops died in Iraq and Afghanistan. 6,927. Not over 6,000. Total fallen angels across the board, over 7,000. Every one of these lives lost is a tragedy. An empty seat at the dinner table. A missing voice at the holidays. Every one of them left behind a whole community. Not just one, a whole community. We can never repay that debt. But I promise you this, to all the Gold Star families across the country, we will never, ever, ever, ever forget. Each year, Memorial Day offers us a chance to reflect on the enormity, the sacrifices that generation after generation of Americans has made, and the responsibilities that we bear, citizens bear in return. I've said many times, it used to get me in trouble 25 years ago, 30 years ago in the Senate. So America has many obligations. We only have one sacred obligation. Obligations to our children, to the elderly, and so many more things. Only one sacred obligation. Is to prepare you when we send you into harm's way with everything you need. Care for your families when you're gone. When you come home, care for you and your families and the needs that may be a consequence of the war. We owe it. We owe it to you. We particularly owe it to the memories to affirm the very best of what America stands for, to uphold honor and democratic values that are the foundation of the strength of this nation. You know, I sometimes get criticized for saying what I deeply believe, having done this for the bulk of my life. We're in a battle between democracies and autocracies. The more complicated the world becomes, the more difficult it is for democracies to come together and reach consensus. I've spent more time with President Xi of China than any world leader has. For 24 hours of private meetings with him. Just an interpreter. 17,000 miles traveling with him in China and here. He firmly believes that China, before the year 3035, is going to own America. Because autocracies can make quick decisions. But America is unique. Of all nations in the world, we're the only nation organized based on an idea. Every other nation you can define by their ethnicity, their geography, their religion, except America. America is born out of an idea. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, including life, liberty, etc. None of you get your rights from your government. You get your rights merely because you're a child of God. The government is there to protect those God-given rights. No other government's been based on that notion. No one can defeat us except us. It's an idea that a generation of patriots have fought and died for it and defended. I know that's a conviction that each and every day you all share. That's why you joined up, why you run around danger and duty calls. It's my greatest honor. It should not surprise anybody. It should be anybody's greatest honor in all of life to be able to serve as your commander-in-chief. No greater honor. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for spending this time with me today. And thank you for your commitment to our country. Because without you, as I said, I'll be end where I began. You are the spine of America. The spine. I can't tell you how much it matters. I think you underestimate. It's the consequence of who you are and what you do. So thank you. May God bless you. And may God protect our troops. Thanks.